YouTube, Awesome Writer here. Welcome to this week's BoonBoomger review in a bit of a different setting. If you're a longtime viewer, you know I used to record my vlogs reviews from over here, and I might move back here. I just kind of like the setup, and I just kind of like a more casual nature. I don't know why I couldn't have a cup of coffee there, but I can have a cup of coffee here and just like... Batman. That was a really lame joke. It wasn't even a joke, it was just me saying stuff. Let me know if this is like super bothering you and I can move back to the other one, but I'm considering moving here and tweaking a little bit. Anyway, that's not about BoonBoomger. And this also isn't the first video I filmed here, but chronologically in the review uploads it will be. Anyway, let's get started. So this episode was Blue Ranger focused, and I did quite enjoy this episode. It was overall pretty fine. It was a damn fine episode. No, it was alright. It was fine. But it was solid. It was some decent development for Blue. It was the debut of the Monster Robo formation. Also, technically the debut of Killer Robo with the other, like, evil versions of the... It just looks the same, like, with gloves on. Like, because it's so much the same color, you don't really notice it as much as, like, the main Mecha, where he looks like he's wearing bright fluorescent gloves. But anyway, as for the positives of this episode, it was, like I said, nice focus on Blue Ranger. We learn a little bit about the fact that he's a huge fan of this aquarium, apparently. I don't want some janky freshwater bitch fish, Winston. Give me it! Anyway, great show. I should rewatch that one. The idea is his job was so stressful as a spy or whatever he was doing that he found solace at the aquarium, and that's where he comes. That's his happy place. That's where he comes. Oh, God. That's his happy place. That also doesn't help. It makes it seem weirder. Whew, I'm weird in this one. I'm not weird, okay? That's where he goes for solace, and it's like under attack, and he's like trying to protect it in this episode. And it was really nice to get that insight into it, and I really liked that. However, it just made me more curious about how he wound up hooking up with Taya. Not like that. I mean, maybe they did, but, you know, it is Pride Month. The point is, how he wound up working with Taya, because I feel like that's almost been built up. I wasn't necessarily mad they didn't reveal more about that in this episode. I thought they were going to, because I'm like, oh my god, a Blue flashback, we might finally learn about this. And then we didn't, but it just feels built up, and I don't know if that's purposeful or if it's just by nature of the way they're letting things roll out, because I'm kind of surprised we haven't learned more about how they got together in the first place after we debuted Pink at the beginning. Orange and Black, we're 2 episodes away from Violet, so I'm not going to be disappointed, I'm not going to overhype it, I'm not going to do that thing where people are like, Multiverse of Madness sucked because I promised myself that Tom Cruise was going to be in it. But I just am curious why it's taking so long and was a little bit disappointed that that's not what this was about. It was still nice to get some character insight, though. It was also nice to follow up on the dynamic of Blue and Pink and sort of the idea of him trusting her more. There were some just overall nice scenes with them. Also, as like a smaller side note, I like the scene where he protected her. It wasn't the stereotypical sacrifice where he jumps in front of her and is like, oh, like he just shot the blast that was coming at her, and these all sound really weirdly sexual. Usually it's like the character gets shot, but instead he just fired right back at the laser blast. I thought that was nice. And there were some nice little like buddy-buddy moments with them at the end, and I did like that they followed up on that. I kind of wish that there was maybe a bit more of a through line because of that, because maybe I haven't been paying attention because I've been paying attention to the Violet stuff recently, and then Orange and Black's debuts and whatnot, and the Go-Onger nonsense. But ever since that first episode where he's like, I don't really fully trust you, that, you know, that classic Toku anime said that, and there hasn't been any moments in the episode since then. It feels like there's been mistrust, so if they were going to touch on it again as a small nitpick, maybe they could have had a little bit more of a through line. But on the other hand, if I'm looking at on the positive side, it's kind of nice that they picked that up, because usually in those types of stories, you have the episode like episode 3 or 4 or whatever it was, where one character mistrusts another, and they like sort of gain their trust but not fully, and then they never bring it up until like the final episodes where they're like, oh, I realize after all this time I really do trust you. So it was both nice to follow it up, but it also felt like I don't remember any moments where he felt like he was mistrusting her since then. Also during the episode, I really liked that we had both a ground fight and a mecha fight, as they split off into 2 teams with Blue and Pink fighting on the ground, and the others fighting Boom Boom Killer Robo, which had a really nice fight. I just like that because it breaks up the formula. That's something Go Busters did that I really liked. It's just a small thing that makes you feel like you're less in that Sentai purgatory. Also, as mentioned, we do debut the monster form, and I really do like that. As mentioned also before multiple times, I'm pleasantly surprised by how cool the different mecha formations are. Outside of the Beast and the Submarine or whatever this one is, having more personality, the individual vehicles are still boring, but I really do like all of the individual robot forms, and this one has a lot of, my favorite word, personality. Now moving on to the negative and the negative and mixed aspects. Just my little personal nonsense perspective, you know, I do like that the storyline about having to gain the trust of the mecha does lead to some more memorable storylines than here is a car, it's yours now. You still don't need to earn the trust of a can opener. It's not a real being. just reprogram it. Especially at the end where, like, it doesn't trust him anymore after that or doesn't want to work with him, and it makes him seem pathetic, like, dude, you're pleading to your toaster. Like, it's not a real thing. And I'm curious, though, if that means that next week he might work with Black Ranger. It looks like next week's Black Ranger focus episode, and, like, maybe this one's gonna bounce around and work with a bunch of different Rangers more, or I don't know what that was about. And oddly enough, I was looking at my list of mixed and negative things, and that was really my only negative thing, is I'm just not a fan of the AI stuff. But also, I forgot that I wrote down something I already brought up in the positives, which was we still don't know about his backstory with Taya, which again, I am curious to learn about. But yeah, this was an overall solid episode. Nothing too huge to write home about, but a fun mecha debut and a decent character focus. You know, we're 1-2 episodes away from Violet, so I'm curious to see how that shakes out, if we're going to get a maybe sneak preview next week of him showing up in suit or something, who knows. But I'm excited to see that. 6 Ranger debuts are always exciting. And as I said, I am really curious what the backstory for Taya and Blue Ranger is, and if there's a reason that they're holding off, or it just kind of happens to be that's the way it shakes out. But let me know what you guys think of the episode in the comments as always. Until next time, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell to get notifications for my videos. Dawson Ryder, signing out.